मेरे को बोल्ट है ना
यार खोया नहीं है
तो देख खोल के देख
ओके give fast अच्छा पूरा डब्बा कैसे रखे हो
हां फिर
Of course. नहीं पहले
तेरे ऊपर से आएगा
ले भाई
हाँ very good.
बस ले भाई
अरे देखो बोलो ना खाने की
मैं जैसे मैं दूंगी ना स्पेशली इन होने के लिए कोई बात नहीं मैं वापस
निकाल उसको
निकाल लिया
हां खा भी लिया
तो डब्बा किसको
अरे हम लोग अभी खोले भाई ऐप पर
दो है
हां तो
चार ऐसे कितने होंगे
भाई मैम क्लास में बैठी है व्हाई आर यू गाइस डूइंग दिस प्लीज कंसंट्रेट
yes my preacher in life.
yes
And if you're sucking it, just put it in your mouth and get the glucose. Half the time you're either a cow or a this.
अब मैं इसको
ठीक है खाइए
नहीं बुला वो बचता है
हाँ.
ठीक है अब यू वांट ठीक है
No, I'm already taking something because I'm coughing a lot.
वो जीरा
I'm already sucking something because I'm coughing a lot. Yes, that is not cough, that is something else. Alright. The last class know is all about what?
define bad omens are nothing, everything is good and beautiful in nature. Optimism, finding happiness in small things.
Yes, that is the main message of that. That he was depressed, he was sad, but when the crows dropped dust on him, suddenly like how nature's a small incident can change your whole perspective in life. Have you understood? The poem is all about even the smallest thing can change your whole perspective, and then something which happens in life, something small can also affect you, affect how you see the world, affect your mood. A simple hug, if you see you have a very depressing day, and you see just a flower bloom. Have you noticed? I'm this water child. I can see. I'm an affinity to water. I'm very upset. I'm very frustrated. Very angry. But I sit near the water.
yes
Immediately I calm down. Have you ever noticed that kind of thing with you which helps you find it?
gently
You look into the light and it helps you.
I like to hear music at night.
Okay. Have you been to any hill station?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever gone out alone? What do you feel? That's the most obvious answer.
Peace.
That's the most obvious answer.
And like
Imagine
nostalgia hits sometimes. Like seeing.
nostalgia
होता है बहुत बार. Like even if you visit the old Bombay street, you feel something like.
Yeah. You feel memories because maybe his parents may have taken him when he was young to the same place. That's the time we're talking about nostalgia. Okay. Sometimes with grandparents it happens, but sometimes, as I said, nature. When you go, I'm just giving you an example of hill station. You immediately from the city when you shift to the hill station, immediately your mood lifts. Why?
Different environment.
And
different
atmosphere,
Different vibes.
different lifestyle
Different vibes.
because you're more closer to nature. And nature has the power of rejuvenating you. It relaxes you. Rejuvenating means refresh the life.
have
It happens. Nature does it. That's what Robert Frost is saying. He was very depressed. He was like rude when we talk about depressed, grief, stricken, and all that. But when the snow fell, immediately his perspective changed. Understood? Immediately his mood lifted up. The smallest thing in life is one thing which can change your mood, and especially nature is something like that. You look at the flowers. Flowers automatically brings a smile to your face, right? Because of the brightness. Flowers does you just looking at the flower, but you feel happier. So coming back to this, so you're talking about symbolism, and this one, so it is a symbol of death. Walking on a could be aeroplane, and it should have upset him, but ironically, it brought him happiness. So the black crow is commonly a symbol of death, but the irony of the poem is that it is by shaking this snow, it changed the poet's mood. That's why the dust fell on the poet. The poet was very depressed, but as soon as it brought him out of his thoughts. It made him realize that you have to live for the moment, not keep on pondering on your thoughts. Have you understood? So central idea is communication between nature and humans. The significance of small things in changing one's attitude and nature's healing and helping negative human behavior. We always experience negative emotions, but if you go in nature, automatically the negative emotion changes into positive emotions if you take, because nature has a way of helping you that way. Understand?
Even if I visit abandoned buildings, like I feel good.
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe because you like architecture, or maybe you like the ambience of that particular building, the history of that particular building. So you have to find, actually in life, you really need to find some place where you feel calm, peaceful, as well as relaxed. What you wanted, sorry, you wanted something. Okay, perfect. So here, these are the three messages, central message of this poem. Alright. Summary of the poem. The poet tells that a simple moment has a large significance. A simple thing. Your day may be the disastrous day, but your mother or your father, unexpected is your father. Your father will never. Your father is just that spends 2 minutes with you and just says very good and just leaves it. Your day is lifted. All the things what you have done. Yeah.
Like something which we get for a low rate.
It's like the smallest thing can make you, even a smile. You know, when your teacher is very, very angry, and automatically the mood of the class becomes very irritated, but the teacher smiles at you, immediately you feel lifted, isn't it? You feel happy. Now, the poet mentions the crow and hemlock tree in this poem. Crow signifies a depressive and sorrowful mood, and hemlock is a poisonous tree. Symbols will come in your exams. But both these signify the poet was not in a good mood, so he described the dark, depressive, and bitter side of nature to this one. The crow and the hemlock tree shows that he was in a very dark place. He was very depressed and he was very bitter. Bitter, what does bitter means? Not the taste. What does bitter means?
Feeling
Awkward.
feeling uneasy.
Not awkward.
Awkward.
Sorry, you heard.
Like a cruel side of things. Bitter side of things.
In a bitter mood, I said.
Not in a good mood.
In a very revengeful mood. As in you see the world like everything is against you and you are against the world. That is bitter. When you put the blame of everything what you experience on somebody else and you want to just hurt the other person, then you are bitter. You keep on blaming the others for your own faults. The poet says that once he was in a sad, depressive mood and was sitting under a hemlock tree, as I said, then a crow sitting on the same tree shook off the dust of snow, that is, small particles of snow that remained on the surface after the snowfall on the poet. The simple action changed the poet's mood. He realized that he had wasted a part of his day repenting and being sad in sorrow. So it was a wasted of when the crow dusted the snow on him, he realized that he wasted up his day in only being depressed, only being sorrowful, only being in grief. The irony, as I said, the crow is a symbol of ill omen, and that very crow made him realize that he is wasting away his day. He's wasting his emotions. He's wasting his time. But the change in his mood made him realize that he should utilize the rest of the day in some useful activity. His sorrow was washed away by the light shower of the snow dust. His spirit was revived and he got ready to utilize the rest of the day. We always have time to breathe, time to this one. But nature can be such thing that makes you feel happy. Listen, you want to play this out. If I'm not looking at you, don't think that I am my attention and not towards you. Read.
It is winter season and the poet is in a bad mood sitting quietly under the hemlock tree, covered all over the snow. It's for a moment, spur of moment, a crow sitting on the branch of the tree shakes the tree, and the snow from tree falls on the poet. The snow is cold and velvet to touch with changes the poet's mood from bitter to
Elate is happy.
this fills him with a refreshing feeling. The moment was very
It seems that you are straining your eyes, that means you are not being able to see. Where you have specs,
yes, sir.
then why are you not wearing specs? Because I'm expanding it, I'll have to shift equal 50. Okay.
Wait, no, I'll come.
Read. Okay. This much you can read. Elate.
And saves his day from disappointment. The black crow usually symbolizes bad omen and emblem of death and fear. Since the crow is not related to goodwill, it is ironic that during this storm, he did an honest deed by shaking off the snow. Robert Frost did not prefer to use any other trees like oak, maple, or pine. He chose the hemlock, which is typically related to poison and toxicity. Similarly, he uses dust, which is useless to anybody, and nobody wants to be liking dust. But the poet uses it as an impulse that brings positive thoughts in mind anyway. Anyway, the alluring snow that adorns the poisonous hemlock tree branches is shaken off by a scary crow. We have toxic hemlock covered in pure white snow, and a person who is depressed getting to kill himself and walking under the tree. The black crow throws the snow on the poet. The feels of pure cold snow after his mind about sacrificing his life. On the contrary, he decides to forget the regrets of his life and sorrow to follow the path of healing and the innocence.
Read.
The Home conveys the message that nothing in life is small, even trivial things can bring positive changes in our life. In addition to this, it also shows that if we take things positively in life, situations do change for better. Even the small help or good gestures we do for others make large differences. Just believe those random acts of kindness we do and the way we brighten a person's life. Day and sometimes change their future. Noticing and appreciating all the tiny things in life will make our life happy.
Sometimes the most, as I said, the most insignificant things, the most things which you do not turn back is. The most things which you don't count in your life, maybe not something that you will not value them. You don't, people who you don't call as friends, but they are the ones who bring a change in your whole perspective. They are the ones who bring you out. So you start, like, you shouldn't ignore, like, whatever your actions, whatever you do, may affect people in various ways. A simple thing, a smile can change a person's day. The person may be scolded, you never know. But a simple act of kindness can do. And the crow, that's what I said, it's ironical. The crow is a symbol of evil, right? But he managed to change this one. The dust, when it swallowed, it really brought the poet out of his depression. Now the key point B.
Poem describes a very simple happening in very simple words. It tells us that sometimes even a small incident may prove to be larger significance. The poet is upset at the beginning of the poem, but a small incident of falling of snow changes his mood totally. In the end of the poem, the poet feels relaxed and thankful to the nature for saving his day from being destroyed.
A Solan's identity, A Solan's identity. It is the vowel sound. Assonance is the vowel sound. Consonance is the consonant sound. Finish, comfortable? Read.
What do the crow and hemlock represent? Joy or sorrow?
What do you think? Look at me and tell me. I don't look there. Look at me and tell me.
Crow, like the tree, represent sorrow. They represent sorrow and the tree.
Crow and tree go together. Joy or sorrow.
Sorrow.
Okay. Why?
Because crow is told as the omen of death, and hemlock trees are always told to be poisonous and toxic, and they represent death.
Okay. And the dust of snow.
The dust of snow, because nobody likes dust, and
Okay. Read. Read.
Both crow and hemlock tree represent sorrow. Frost has used both the negative features, crow and the hemlock tree, as the carriers of positivism and strength that transform his day for the better. By not using birds like sparrow and nightingale and trees like maple, oak, or pine, the poet has tried to break down all the preconceived We conceive notions that we have about certain agents of nature. He has tried to make us understand that we see the world not as how it is, but as how we want to see it. Thus, the crow sitting and a hemlock tree together made his day better. The lessons no stands the joke.
These are your MCQs which come. What is the underlying message for us in a hectic life with reference to the poem? What is the central idea or what the poem was conveying to this one? This kind of question always comes. So, repeat.
In the poem Dasgupta, the poet wants to convey that sometimes certain movements or actions which are simple have larger significance. They can change the mood or life of a person. The way Crow shakes down dust of snow on the poet inspires and gives him an idea to shake off his depressive thoughts, make him cheerful and do something useful. Okay.
So this poem is clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Symbolism is clear. Message is clear.
Yes.
Okay. So the next one,
Fire and ice.
fire and ice. What is fire and ice all about? What is fire and ice all about? You have done fire and ice? And then what is it all about?
The fire of lust and the endless desires of ice of hatred.
Two opposite elements presenting various virtues and values of human feelings,
Okay.
Like love, mutual understanding.
which both can create which both have equal powers to destroy the
Okay.
humanity or world.
What does fire normally stand for?
Jealousy,
Okay.
hatred,
Okay.
lust, anger,
Okay. And ice?
Ice
Calm.
negativity.
That's why I said, have you done fire and ice?
Yes.
And he said yes. वो भी negative ही
I
है लेकिन आपका
I stands for greed, conflict, avarice, cruel.
what? Sorry, before that, please repeat.
It's AVARIC.
Avarice.
Avarice.
What is avarice?
I was going to ask.
I also understood. Avarice is also greed.
Lust.
Yes.
Yes.
Ice, if you see, it is hard. That means you will not give in to something. Understood? You are rigid. You are insensitive. You are extreme. That is what it is. Alright, fire and ice.
Yes. Insensitivity,
Yes.
hatred, rigidity,
Yes.
cruelty, intolerance, indifference.
Yes. So let him now. You want to go what? Switch off one of the ACs, please.
केवल भी बोला करें उससे ज्यादा ठंडा लगता है
Get to the class.
जैकेट में जैकेट में कपड़ा ये जैकेट में
अरे ओके रिएक्शन की बात कर रहे थे डार्क ग्रीन
हाँ मेरे को तो ग्रीन दिख रहा है
ग्रीन ग्रीन था ब्लैक ब्लैक के सामने मुझे अंधेरे थे ग्रीन था ग्रीन पानी पानी नाम था ग्रीन था उसको आता ही नहीं आपको
If he returns faster, I can carry on faster, no? Come in. Acha, you this one.
अभी आ रहे हैं अंदर कौन सा
Come.
क्या हुआ
Okay.
हाँ पानी
All right. Shall we continue?
Yes,
You have finished
ma'am.
playing in this one. All right.
So some say world will end in fire, some say in ice.
So when we were talking about fire, fire represents hatred, anger. Ice represents
sorry coldness
all our passions, all our desires. Okay? Ice represents that. He says either way, some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice. From what I have tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. Because either way, the world will be destroyed because if we don't learn how to control our emotions, either way it will be destructive. Anger, hatred. Now what is happening with India and Pakistan? We are
anger and hatred
yes, hatred. That also destroys. But purely desires. You know what are desires? What are desires?
Kashmir
Your desire is Kashmir, fine. But what are your desires as not taking leave Pakistan and India separate? What are your desires in life?
score good in
Okay, fine. You want to be somebody great, you want to be somebody famous, you want to earn a lot of money, you want to make people's life comfortable, you want to make your family happy, you want to make yourself happy. These are all your desires, isn't it? But in the achievement of the desires, yes, successful career and all that. Have you ever thought these desires are never ending? And in the thing is when you want to achieve the desires, what do you do?
work for it
When you say to Kashmir, you desire Kashmir, what is happening with India and Pakistan right now? What is happening is that everybody is fighting for it. And what is happening?
lives are being lost
Right? We are heading towards destruction. If we do not control, when you talk about fire and ice, if we do not control our emotions, what Robert Frost is saying, that if we do not control your emotions, ultimately both lead to destructions. Your fiery desires or your hatred. Because fire represents hatred and ice represents your fiery desire. And both lead to power destruction where you have to control both. Because we are ruled by our emotions. We are extremely passionate people, very passionate. But if we don't learn to control our emotions, ultimately it leads to the path of destruction. Because first of all, we are very ambitious people. We want everything in life. But in order to achieve everything in life, we will walk over everybody's life. That is what the poem is all about. You have to control your emotions. So he says, some say world will end in fire. Some say in ice. For I have tasted of desire. He says, I have experienced this one. And I hold with those favor who favor ice. So he says, I know that if we don't control our emotions, ultimately we will be heading for path of destructive path. The few lines describe the disagreement in gender society. Okay, like hatred will kill, but even when you're very rigid, when you're emotion, this one you are very cold. Cold in the sense is you don't feel any emotions. When you are in the urge of achieving everything in life, don't let you work with your brain. You don't work with your heart, and that also is equally destructive. So the poet is merely stating that people debate on whether the world will be consumed by fire or frozen by ice. Ice and fire are opposite each other, and many people have opposing views. We all both have. Pakistan has their own view, India has their own view when we're talking about that. Both have opposing view. But ice, it is also talking about two extreme. Both are two extremes. Correct? And both can cause damage. Hatred also can cause damage, and uncontrollable desires also can cause damage. Because you will not wait for others. You will, what you want to achieve, even your best friend, you will stab in the back. That can be destructive. And are fitting metaphors for harbingers of death. Harbingers, signs. Both are symbols of okay, from what I have to favorize. Here the speaker provides his own opinion. He equates fire with desire, greed, lust, rage. Alright? A candle or a fireplace shows a person the way. Simple? The same this one, a candle. What happened? You know, it's 3 hours is stuck for you, 3 hours is stuck for me. And I'm doing 6 hours. Yes. 6 hours, you are doing 3 hours there and 3 hours here. The same thing with me also from this one. I'm from morning 7:30, I'm also here. For 7 o'clock, I came 7 o'clock. So even equally, I'm also tired. I'm also a human being. I'm not an inhuman person. After this 2 weeks break you have from English, be happy. Yes, because next will be at the end of the month. So till that, pay attention because I'm trying to complete as much as possible because then your exams will be there and you need to complete these lessons. Read. Then I'll explain.
A candle on a fireplace shows a person the way. Its warmth and the light acts as guide. In the same way, small details are not double at all, and can guide the person to think and make water level. In the last scale, however, fire is dangerous and destructive. Similarly, uncontrollable desires cause danger and bring doom to the whole humankind. The speaker recalls his experiences with strong desire and tends to believe that it is those kinds of emotion and impulses that lead the world to its doom. Hence, the speaker believes that the world will end in fire.
Okay. Now it's as simple as that. If you talk about Russia and Ukraine, there was a war between Russia. Why did the war start?
Because Russia wanted to acquire Ukraine's land.
There was some
They wanted land,
Yes.
property. That is what it is. It was his desire. One person's desire. It was
Ukraine
not.
didn't have any desires.
No, it didn't have, but it wanted to protect because it is his this one. So it is like that. It's very apt metaphor. You see, a light, a candle can show you the light, but that same light, as in this one, can cause a massive destruction when it grows. It's the same thing. If you have control over your emotions, the small things, nothing, you will not harm others. But if you don't have a control over your emotions, you end up destroying people's life. Your greed, your lust for power. You know, when you get the taste of money, having this one, you will not you want to achieve more and more and more and more, and you will not care when you're destroying others. So a small desire, your ambition is not wrong, but over ambition is something which is injurious. So he says your small desires are not no problem, but when your desires grow, then it and you cannot control your desires, then it like can be very destructive. Very meaningful poem if you think about it. Small things, nothing doesn't this one. Small things are okay, but when it turns into a massive fire, then it is destructive. So first part of it is assonance. I hold with those with fire. So O sound is very vowel sound. Assonance is vowel sound. Whenever you get the vowel sound, you get this one. Alliteration, F and F favor fire word with. Okay, so this is this one. Imagery. Visual imagery is used here. Alright. Some say tasted desire, which again uses the senses. Okay. Anaphora, when the word some say comes in consecutive lines, then it is an anaphora. When the word it begins with that word and is repetitive, then it is an anaphora. Repetitive means in the other line it is repeated again. Beginning. Personification, human qualities to inanimate. We are giving fire and ice human qualities. Enchantment, so for I have tasted with desire and hold those who will do this one. Antithesis, fire and ice, opposite meaning. The word fire here is used as symbol of desire. The phrase or end of the word is a symbol of self-destruction of humans. Enough for the word to end simply means desire is enough for self-destruction of a human. Are you understanding?
Yes, sir.
Metaphor, the poet compares fire to desire. Now, the next stanza. But if I had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction ice is also great and would suffice. What does suffice mean? Sufficient.
Perish.
No, suffice means sufficient. Perish is here, die.
Also destruction, right?
Huh?
Surface. It means destructions of
Suffice.
destruction.
It's sufficient.
It's sufficient. Here, what he means is, but if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate. He says, I know enough about hatred to say that destruction of eyes is also great. Like when you are rigid, when you are not willing to give in, when you are very cold, when you are not very empathetic, you're not sympathetic to others, that also can destroy. Fire definitely can destroy, hatred definitely can destroy, but even ice can destroy. When you turn your back towards the person who's suffering, you turn your back against anybody who requires help, you stamp over somebody, so that is also going to lead to destruction of it. Hatred will definitely, but even ice will also be. See, perish, suffer death, typically a violent, sudden or ultimately. Like a great part of his army perished of hunger and disease, especially in wartime, definitely. Now we are talking about that because if you see, there was, when they bombed, one of the houses was blown and that person's full granary was destroyed. And that person landed up, 4 of the family members have landed up in the hospital. One whose legs had to be amputated. That is the this one of life. Tasted, experienced, okay? Suffice, be sufficient. And great here means powerful. So if you talk about, I think I know enough of it to say that destruction, for destruction, ice is also great and would suffice. It is sufficient. Destruction, ice is also sufficient to destroy. But if it had to perish and would suffice, or read louder.
On the other hand, the speaker equates ice with the emotions like hatred, coldness, selfishness, and rigidity. He believes that if fire somehow wasn't enough to destroy the world entirely, then ice could manage that feat as well. He thinks that ice is equally dangerous and destructive. It is something that would chill the world, slow it down, and isolate each individual enough that human race simply couldn't survive it. The potential of ice would be sufficient to destruct the world, even though the figure tends to believe in the destructive power of desire. He sees no reason to believe that hate could end the world just as
So hatred, fire as I said is hatred, ice is desire. So any uncontrollable desire which you have, that also can equally. So when you talk about Russia and this one, it was his desire to capture the land. He wanted the route, the sea route for transportation, and it was his desire which led the country to.
And some of Russia's bunkers was also there in Ukraine. It was a part of it.
Yeah, because they were USSR.
Yes.
And that is why it happened. He wanted the control back. He wanted it to be a USSR, this one. But he wanted control. That was one person's control, desire, that wish to control, which led the country to war. Any great leaders, you know, our history also, if you see our history also, many politicians, if you see, one mistake led them to be assassinated. Right? Because they hurt other people's sentiment, they hurt, right? That desire to control, that desire to, like, that ambition, what we call it became out of hand and it turned to be destructive for others. And that is what it is. So till we don't learn to control our emotions, both are harmful. Hatred is also harmful, plus not feeling toward uncontrollable desires also is harmful. Till we don't learn to control our feelings, we will not be able to be a good human or be a part of the world. Because ultimately you will lead, we all will lead the world towards destruction. Every person is a selfish person, if you see. And if you imagine the whole world is a selfish person, then how is humanity going to survive? So eventually, again, ice destruction and ice is also great. And here again he says senses. He uses senses. Personification, again, ice is capable of destruction, that is personified. Ice is a symbol of, again, hatred, lust, greed, desires, whatever the negative desires are there. Ice is a symbol of that. Yes, because here he is given that power to destroy. So that's why it is personified.
Fury is used to strip fire.
Fury.
It's written F-U-R-Y.
Fury. Anger. Hatred. Fury is anger. See, this is a symbol. Hatred, coldness, selfishness, and rigidity. Because ice doesn't bend. Rigidity is that which holds its shape, right? It's rigid. It will not bend. Imagine they don't give it. They want what they want. If they had never given, the war would have not ended up till now. Ukraine and Russia. If they wouldn't have given, the war would have continued up till now. It's as simple as that.
So they gave the part.
No, they came to a common compromise. Understood?
Both countries can use.
No, they are not going to go to USSR. Again, they will not become. But they have come to a compromise. That you find out, because if I every time tell you what are you going to research,
Because I had heard somewhere that the war was led because of oil export something.
That's what this one, the sea route they wanted. That part of land was wanted by
Russia.
By Putin. Russia is this one. He's a leader of that. Okay. Who's reading? Read, because my throat is paining right now. Come on.
poem is a debate among the people.
Louder.
The poem is a debate among the people about the end of the world. Some say that it will be consumed by fire, while others believe that the earth will experience ice age. According to the poet, it would be consumed by fire. Here the poet has metaphorically represented fire and ice as the strong emotions of people. He symbolizes fire with uncontrollable desires of men such as avarice, greed, lust, and rage, while ice with hatred, coldness, and rigidity. The strong emotions are enough to destroy the sanctity and virtues of mankind. Virtues of mankind, which ultimately will lead to the destruction of
virtues are what? What is virtues?
Virtues are like values.
Good qualities, values, yes. Okay, fire is done. You want notes? Team. Justification of the title, these are the two important things. Huh? You want to click. I think that is there, but theme is there.
Yes, it is there.
And this one, justification of the title. Alright. Next one is what? You want to do Nelson Mandela or triangle surgery?
Anyhow,
Surgery.
unplanned surgeries are a bit funny.
Funny. Like again, this is the
We all
part.
are tired, so
Yeah, I know.
we are food industry.
Now that is like like you out of love, we have a tendency to go overboard also. One more time to do that. You can please get up and move out of the class. One more time. That one. You do that one more time. You get up and out of the class. So it is like if you are so blinded in love that you are giving everything under the sun to your pet, but if when you do something over, any kind of thing which you go overboard, it leads to yes, it leads to destruction only. The poor dog fell sick because she went overboard with her love to do for the dog. Like if you see, if your parents also go overboard by giving you things, you don't value things like certain characters of your class. When you're over pampering somebody, you get this example. So this is exactly what the dog should be like and how he turned out to be. Look at the dog. This is the first condition of the dog. This is the second condition of the dog. Yes. And triumph. Don't be Trump. That Trump is another idiot sitting there. Okay? So this is how it is. This is you. Over pampering, being destructive. No value. Yeah. Understood. So this is how she was. She was over catering to the dog, and the poor dog started being sick. And that's how it is. So we had read now. Somebody read. Read one. Read. New character read.
No, I can.
Read, no, let him do because he's playing with that type of content.
About the author, James Alfred White, the 3rd October 1916, 23 February, known by the human name James Alfred White, was a British veteran.
So he was living till 1995. You don't kill him. Now, 10 years he's passed away. Only 10 years.
20 years.
20 He's coming to haunt her, don't worry. He come to haunt her. Come on. We'll have ghost of the past.
Yes.
Surgeon and writer, born in Sunderland, England. White lived in
Glasgow.
Glasgow during his childhood and teenage years. After graduating from Glasgow veterinary college in 1939, White moved back to England and was a
Veterinarian. Yorkshire days.
How to do the
Almost
vegetarian.
Vegetarian.
Animals doctor is known as a veterinarian or short form he uses the veterinarian.
But he's saying vegetarian.
I know. That's why I made him read. Half the time his pronunciation is going haywire.
Nani?
the vegetarian.
Yes. Vegetarian also will make it. He will turn in his grave. Poor chap. Alright. This is what she would provide the dog.
Was she able to walk?
No.
Oh.
That's what it would puke. Puke is vomit. So it would vomit because see anything over excess of anything when you love something also you are not going to suffocate that person with love. Like for example, if you imagine if your parents are just feeding you and you are just having because yes, definitely you become like her. But then the second is not that like they love you so much, right? But they will never give you your freedom. They will never let you be who you are, like as a unique person. What will happen? You will never grow. You will never grow your own personality. You will always be in the cocoon. You will never experience what is there in the world. So overprotectiveness also can be dangerous. This is exactly what happened to the dog. Read. Since you're sitting here only, because his pronunciation, I will have the time have a heart attack. Come on.
What is mistress?
Mistress of Tricky, that means the owner of Tricky.
Owner.
That other mistress is different mistress. You want to know the other
This
mistress?
is conference instead of Ricky hardly overbidding your place. I was like,
I still believe.
नहीं मतलब it's written mistress of Ricky, right? So people लगा उसके mistress कैसे खिलाते हो उसका other mistress.
I know. That's what. This is the owner. You know?
अच्छा.
Not the other one. The extramarital affair one. This is not the extramarital affair. Alright. Alright.
अभी सिर्फ प्रॉपर्टी नो प्रॉपर्टी नो
क्या?
Crocodile.
अरे read.
Dr. Harrow was really worried to see the dog. Tricky. Tricky was very fat. His eyes were red and
What is Ruby?
uh,
Rheumatism, have you heard? You have heard what rheumatism? It is joint pain and it is extremely terrible and the old people have rheumatism. Understood? When you have joint pains, it is a disease. It is not this one. And the thing is what? This now you have this is a dachshund, right? Dachshund is supposed to be thin like that previous one.
Yes, ma'am.
If she's given him malt, she's given him cod liver oil, she's given him bowl of Horlicks. These are the things she's overfeeding
She
him.
used to also give wine.
Yes.
And all,
So she's overfeeding him, and this is the condition where the child is this one is only having because it's a dog. It will have. It doesn't have. Even as a child, your mother will feed you. You will not have this one. You will not. You just keep on eating because of your mother's feeding you. But imagine that excessive feeding will make you vomit, and this is the condition. So what do we see?
Really depends on the dog.
Yes. Because this is the real story which is adapted and written. So Dr. Henry found the only fault with Ricky was the greed for food. This one was a glutton. You know what is a gluttonous person? What does glutton mean? Sorry? Glutton is what? What did you say? Gluttony is supposed to be a sin. Gluttony is excessive eating or no control over your eating. You're greedy for food. And that is what it is. The dog was like whatever the mistress would give, he would keep on eating. And that's why he landed up in that condition. And he told her, see, nothing is wrong with your dog. You better just stop his food and give him daily exercise. But out of the tell the mother not to give something to the child, how the mother is. Mother doesn't listen. So what happened? It is this size. Do you think he will walk? Look at his behind also. Yes. So she received a call. He kept on vomiting. He could not eat anything, and he was panting. If you see overweight people also are like that. If you see walking, even walking becomes a task, and it's a very serious condition. Huh? It's a very serious condition. If you see overweight people have what happens is their body becomes huge, and your leg is thin, so your leg doesn't support your weight, and ultimately you collapse. And what happens is the fat which is accumulated puts the pressure on your organs. Okay, yes, his behind is such big fat and big. No, yes, I can see that. Yes. He lay down panting and could not go for a walk, and Dr. Harriet suggested that Ricky must be hospitalized. Ricky was taken to the hospital. At the surgery, the household dog surged around Dr. Harriet and Ricky, looking silently at them lying motionless on the couch. Now, if you see a dog, normally if it's around another dog, it will always bark. It will always jump around and try to bite them off. Ricky didn't show any reaction. He couldn't move. So this one, 2 days, for 2 days, what he did is, he said nothing is wrong, he told her not to give food, but she kept on feeding him. So ultimately, he brought her to his hospital and then kept an eye on Ricky and gave him no food but plenty of water to keep him hydrated. Water helps to keep your body hydrated. You can survive without food, but you cannot survive without water. Next day, the doctor was pleased to see Ricky jostling his way to his food. Jostling? Pushing his way. Pushing. The way when you're walking is basically where you're trying to push it and move. No medical treatment was given to Ricky. Ricky's progress was rapid and he started running with the dogs. Dr. Harriet informed Mrs. Puffy that Ricky was out of danger of recovery. The excited Mrs. Puffy brought fresh eggs, wine, and brandy to keep Ricky's fed. Brandy is supposed to be medicinal. So she said she thought she's doing him a favor by giving him eggs, brandy, and
Brandy.
yeah, brandy is supposed to be good for
provides I think heat also. It provides heat also to the body.
It is, yeah. And soon she informed Ricky had recovered and could go home. Within 2 weeks, Ricky had transformed. Look at the transformation. You have stopped your food and you are giving that person exercise. Animal metabolism is different than human metabolism. Please understand that. Human metabolism is very slow. You will take ages to reduce 10 kgs. It's a dog. Ricky saw his mistress, he leaped to her lap and with trembling and tears shining, she called a recovery and triumph of surgery. Okay, this is strictly transformation.
Is it real images of
Yes,
Tricky?
sir.
But in those days, we didn't have such high resolution.
You had cameras, but you were talking about 1995. When he
High,
died.
such high resolution.
High resolution cameras were not there, but there were some expensive cameras which captured.
Black and white.
A black and white. Your great grand, this one, that time it was black and white. After that it started having color. 1995 is 10 years. This is only 2025.
20 years.
1995 and this is 20.
20.
Okay, yes, I know, intelligent person. That much intelligence show
Actually,
you.
30 years.
30.
30.
I'm talking about
Ah.
20 years.
30.
बराबर.
Hello, one more intelligent person. Not concentrating on what the lesson is about, but concentrating how many years it is ago. Lovely. What was theme?
The story, A Trump of Surgery is
Triumph! What does triumph mean?
victory.
Thank you. So it is triumph, not Trump. Donald Trump, you don't bring here.
A Triumph of Surgery is about a dog.
Take out
named
blood.
Tricky.
Want to take out any more blood? Just tell me. I'll give you one punch.
The theme of the story is about the blind love that Mrs. Pomfrey has for her pet dog, Tricky. She had no idea that her pampering had extreme love, and extreme love would cause him trouble. Excessive love made Tricky sick and became a reason for his illness. It can be concluded that overindulgence in any form can lead to extreme consequences.
So, character sketch.
Mrs. Pomfrey's character is rich and resourceful lady, passionately attached. Lady, I said, passionately attached to her little pet dog Tricky, pampers Tricky like a spoiled child, thinks Tricky to be suffering from malnutrition, so overfeeds him, gets worried about Tricky's failing health, is impractical but very compassionate and caring, is grateful and thanks Dr. Harriet for saving Tricky's life.
Malnutrition. You know what is malnutrition? No?
Yes, ma'am.
And she thinks that he is suffering from malnutrition. Diarrhea.
100%.
Tricky is a small dog, is greedy for food, overeating on sweets, cakes, and chocolates make him obese, roomy, and listless, becomes a victim of overindulgence and overfeeding, transforms him into a flexible and hard-muscled dog, displays his love for his mistress by jumping onto her lap when she comes to correct him. James Harriet is a competent veterinary surgeon, is very sensible, practical, and
Pragmatic. What does pragmatic mean? I know that was the next question. What does pragmatic means?
Caring, loving. Practical.
Practically.
Someone who is practical.
Practical is already written.
Pragmatic is kind of practical who takes it on, like, who has a head over his shoulder and takes a correct decision. Doesn't get emotionally like attached, as in means he takes decision which is required at that particular time.
not from his heart but from his brain.
Yes.
Is genuinely concerned about Tricky, is tactful as well as full of common
See,
sense.
because he was not harsh with Mrs. Humphrey. He was very tactful. He dealt with it very tactfully.
Cured Tricky without any medical treatment, is compassionate about helping animals. Values. Excessive pampering and indulgence causes harm. One
Like
should
this. Excessive peeling of skin will also cause harm.
One should not be extravagant and with resources and money. Some problems can be solved.
Another one is also for you only. Why is your phone ringing?
Moment. Bottle.
I hope you use the third part of it for yourself.
Motivation.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Write that only in the exam. Bow, bow, bow. That is your motivation. Okay.
Motivation. Oh.
Yeah, he's going to write that only.
Gaurav is eating. Mama, I'm putting the wrappers inside.
Yeah. Put everything inside.
Yes.
Come on.
Manish.
Somebody read.
I was
Read.
Best reader.
But the more he reads, the more he practices. He will become fluent. Come on.
I was really worried about drinking this time. I had pulled up my car when I saw him in the street with his mistress, and I was shocked at his appearance. He had
What is?
He had become hugely fat like a bloated
Like a-
sausage with a leg at each shoulder. His eyes bloodshot and he started straight ahead and his tongue lolled from his jaws.
Here I showed you the picture of him bloated because as I said, when your body is bloated and your legs are tiny, it doesn't support your body. Understood? And this one, because of that, even in humans, when it is over excessive, now your organs are squeezed, and because your organs and your lungs are squeezed with the fat, you cannot breathe. You start panting. So the same thing will happen. And because the pressure is on your bones, right? Your bones, and that's why it starts paining. So his appearance was that. What shows that he's concerned? In which sentence shows that the doctor is concerned?
I was
Because
really
of
worried.
I had pulled up my car and when
No, she's correct. I was really worried. That is a sentence which shows that the doctor is concerned. Why was he concerned?
Because it will lead to tricky
usually fat and bloated like a
fatality,
sausage.
not cured on time.
From the text only. Why was he concerned?
Because he
Because
saw
he will
Wrigley
think-
usually fat like a bloated sausage with a leg at each one.
Correct. If you see a Dachshund, it is a Dachshund. It is a long dog, right? It's like it is called a sausage dog because it is long,
Yes.
and because of that, your pizzas you eat and you have sausage toppings are there. If you see, so sausages are long. That's why it is called a sausage dog also. And it was bloated. Bloated, you know what is bloated, right? Like a balloon, basically. Like as if somebody's put air in it, it becomes big, like that. And that is what caused him concern. Because a dog shouldn't be like that. Next.
Mrs. Pumpkin has
Hastened.
to explain. He was so listless, Mr. Harrod. He seemed to have no energy. I thought he must be suffering from malnutrition. So I've been giving him some little extras between meals to build him up. Some malt and cod liver oil and a bowl of Horlicks at night to make him sleep. Nothing much really.
Bowl,
Bowl.
not bowl. Okay. Listless. Listless is when you don't have any kind of energy. Listless is that. And because she sees him listless and not having any energy, she thought she needs to feed him more. So between meals also she's giving him something to eat and drink. Okay, so overindulgence. This shows overindulgence. She's going out of her way to she's so in love with the dog that she's making sure she's overdoing it. Okay.
And did you cut down on the sweet things as I told you? Oh, I did for a bit. But he seemed to be so weak, I had to relent. He does love cream cakes and chocolates, so I can't bear to refuse him.
So the doctor had already advised that you're not supposed to give sweets to Tricky, but she gave him because she was so in love with him that she, like when Tricky would beg him, Tricky, what does it tell you about Tricky?
He seemed to be so weak.
That he was a huh?
He was
He
greedy
was
for
a-
food.
Greedy for food. That shows that he's greedy for food because he's begging. He's begging, and the mistress is giving in. She's giving in to the this one. If your parents would have given in to everything what you demand, what kind of a child you would have been?
Spoiled.
A spoiled child. Definitely yes. You're pointing to yourself. I know that. You don't have to own up to it. I know you are spoiled. I can see with your behavior only. Okay. So that kind of a thing, and it's overindulgence. Lovely. Next.
I looked down again at the little dog. That was the trouble. Ricky's only fault was greed. He had never been known to refuse food. He would tackle a meal at any hour of the day or night. And I wonder about all the things Mrs. Pumpkin hadn't mentioned.
So anytime you put food in front of Tricky, he would eat it. So he couldn't stop himself, and the mistress couldn't stop himself from giving in to him because he loved him like your parents. Too much overindulgence. Next.
I'm giving him plenty of exercise when he has little walks with me, as you can see. But Hawkins, the gardener, has been down with lumbago, so there was being so ring throwing lately.
No. What is lumbago? You have done this, you should know. Huh?
That's scissors with
Being down with lumbago scissors?
Like cutting the grass.
Seriously, you need to understand the meaning through please understand the context of that. Here in the meaning it is given very clearly. He's been down with lumbago, so there's no link. Down with lumbago is whenever you have a disease, you are down with that. You can write the meaning down, please. It is a pain in the lumbar region. Lumbar region is your back. Yes, severe back pain. It is a pain between your hips and the rib cage. Behind. Lumbar region is behind.
Spine.
Yes, thank you.
Ribcage बोला था।
Okay, so he couldn't throw the ring. So he said, he's been down with that, so he couldn't throw the ring. And I would take him for tiny walks. How tiny walks? He would be rolling in this one. Yes, because he's so fat, he's definitely rolling in the ground, on the ground, isn't it? Read.
I tried to sound severe, now I really
What does severe means? I tried to sound severe. What does it mean?
serious.
Serious.
Harsh.
Now I really mean this. If you don't cut his food right down and give him more exercise, he's going to be really ill. You must harden your heart and keep him on a very strict diet. Mrs. Pomfrey wrung her hands. Oh, I will.
Ranga has this, when you are actually worried and you don't want to do something, you are doing it against your will. So that.
Mr. Harriet, I am sure you are right, but it's so difficult. So very difficult. She set off head down along the road as if determined to put the new regime into practice immediately.
Regime is the new diet or the new rules into place. Okay. So,
I watched it.
what does it tell you about Mrs. Humphrey?
That she was also worried about his situation, but
She doesn't want to be cruel to
cruel
him.
to him.
Because she feels that if I keep food away from Vicky, it would be harsh on her. Because Vicky loves food, right?
I watched her progress with growing concern. Piggy was tottering along in his little tweed coat. He had a whole wardrobe of these clothes for cold weather and a raincoat for the wet days. He struggled on dropping his harness. I thought it wouldn't be long before I heard from Mrs. Pomfrey.
So Tricky had a whole wardrobe. It like if you see dogs also have a typical wardrobe. They have their clothes, they have their coat, they have the so the Tricky had a raincoat, Tricky had different kinds of coats for different kind of weather and all that. And even harness, you know what is a harness?
Yes.
You do bungee jumping, so you have to wear the harness. But this harness is the dog collar one, the harness which is
So I made it one for my dog.
you made it for your dog. But I hope it's not around the neck, it's around his waist.
Yes, around this.
Because you can't keep it around the throat. Because it's literally choking, because the dog likes to run. And if you have the dog collar here and the harness is here, or the and this one, you will choke the dog. Yes.
The expected call came within a few days. Mrs. Pomfrey was distraught.
What does distraught means?
Sad.
And
She was
sad
worried.
at the same time.
Extremely worried. Distraught is when you are basically
Worried.
You don't know what to do.
yes, your brain doesn't work. Okay, and now simply like with you also, if something happens, your parents are the ones who are very distraught. You can't because your brain stops working because they love you, right? And something happens to you, they start panicking. So here also with the same thing happened with Tricky. When Tricky was not well, same thing happened to Mrs. Humphrey. She couldn't understand, she couldn't what is happening to Tricky.
Ricky would eat nothing, he refused even his favorite dishes, and besides, he had bouts of vomiting. He spent all his time lying on a rug panting, didn't want to go for walks, didn't want to do anything.
So everything, every human being or every animal has a limit, and over excessive doing anything can be dangerous. And ultimately, he was so greedy, he likes to eat. Ultimately, he couldn't even take a single bite because anything he would take, he would start vomiting. Bouts of vomiting is when you have food poisoning. Bouts are means again and again you're vomiting. You cannot control your vomiting. Especially even bus sometimes you are not you get motion sickness. Correct? So you keep on vomiting like that. You can't stop vomiting till you don't take a tablet and you can subside it.
I had made my plans in advance. The only way was to get Ricky out of the house for a period. I suggested that he be hospitalized for about a fortnight to be kept under observation.
Fortnight.
Some
For days of 14
Sorry,
a period of 14 days.
2 weeks. Fortnight, yeah.
2 weeks only.
2 weeks. Ideally, fortnight is 2 weeks. Okay. And he kept under observation. He said he hospitalized and he kept under observation for 2 weeks, basically.
The poor lady almost swooned.
Swooned, became dizzy. She nearly fainted. Swooned is fainted, nearly fainted. Because why? She loves Tricky from the bottom of her heart and she can't be without Tricky. So when the doctor said that he has to be hospitalized, she felt dizzy. As I said, some disaster strikes, immediately you start panicking, you start feeling dizzy, or especially your mother is supposed to be this one. Something happens to you, and if you've been rushed, God forbid, and if something like this happens, so she is the first thing who will start feeling dizzy because she can't take what's happening to you.
She was sure he would pine and die if he did not see her every day.
Pine is when you want somebody. Pining is that. Especially if you see dogs, you have a dog, right? And the dog doesn't see you for a very long time. He keeps on moaning and when you go out of the house, he keeps on moaning and he makes a very sad face. He keeps on this one because you lock the dog, and that is pining when you are longing for someone.
But I took a firm line. Ricky was very ill. This was the only way to save him. In fact, I thought it's best to take him without any delay. And
Followed by
followed by Mrs. Humphrey wailing.
I saw that.
I marched out to the car carrying the little dog wrapped in a blanket. The entire staff was roused and the
What does wailing means?
Crying.
Crying loudly.
maids rushed in and out bringing his daybed, his nightbed, favorite cushions, toys and rubber rings. breakfast bowl, lunch bowl, and supper bowl.
Bowl.
Realizing that my car would never hold all the stuff, I started to drive away as I moved off. Mrs. Pomfrey, with despairing cry, she threw an armful of little coats through the window. I looked in the mirror before I turned the corner of the drive. Everybody was in tears. Out on the road, I glanced down at the pathetic little animal gasping on the side by side. I patted the head and Ricky made a brave effort to wag his tail. Poor little lad. I said you haven't a kick in you, but I think
What do you mean by a kick in you?
energy.
A little bit of energy.
But I think I know a cure for you.
So imagine that how overindulged he is. He has everything, and plus this shows the overindulgence that he has favorite cushions, favorite toys, rubber rings, lunch bowl, breakfast bowl, supper bowl. Then he has coats in this one. Everything she's trying because she wants that her dog be pampered. So she's throwing everything, and the doctor's panicking because the amount of thing doesn't fit in the car.
At the surgery, the household dog surged around me. Tricky
Surge around me. Ran.
around.
Surge is always with the waves, like how the waves rise, like that. Your surge is that rushed basically towards it or jumped towards it.
Tricky looked down at the noisy bag with dull eyes and when put down, lay motionless on the carpet. The other dogs, after sniffing round him for a few seconds, decided he was an uninteresting object and ignored him.
So, in contrast, the other dogs are very energetic. Tricky doesn't have the energy to move at all. And they found it very uninteresting because dogs have the habit of sniffing, especially with strangers. Any stranger comes, if they sniff, right?
I made up a bed for him in a warm, loose box next to the one where the other dogs slept. For 2 days, I kept an eye on him, giving him no food but plenty of water. At the end of the second day, he started to show some interest in his surroundings, and on the third, he began to whimper when he saw the dogs in the yard. When I opened the door, Ricky trotted out and was immediately engulfed by joy. The greyhound and his friends. After rolling him over and thoroughly inspecting him, the dogs moved off down the ground. Ricky followed them, rolling slightly with his surplus arm.
So, the first 2 days, he couldn't have energy because he's been overstuffed, but slowly, because he kept him only on water, he started regaining his energy. And then, engulfed by Joe, the greyhound. Greyhound you have seen, na? You have seen a greyhound dog?
Yes.
It's a huge dog. So it again, this one rolling him and thoroughly inspecting him. So rolling him over. So he's inspecting, you know how dogs keep on inspecting this one, and then they went off to the garden and Ricky followed them. Because now he had the energy because 2 days he didn't have anything except for water. So now he had the energy to move. And but he was rolling. It was not bad. This one also. He was not running, he was rolling because he was so fat.
Later that day, I was present at feeding time. I watched while Tristan sloped their food into the bowl. There was the usual headlock rush followed by the sounds of high-speed eating. Every dog knew that if he fell behind the others, he was liable to have some competition for the last part of it.
The dogs are like that. They are very competitive. So when Christian put food, they immediately rushed to the food bowl and started having because they knew because they will get a limited supply and they knew this also shows that he's very pragmatic, the doctor. There's certain limit amount of food which he puts for the dogs and the dogs knew that if they don't eat whatever is in the bowl, the other dogs will eat it up. So like
If he's so fat, he easily able to eat.
no. This is not talking about the other dogs. It's not talking about Tricky. Now look at this one. Now look at Tricky.
When they had finished, Ricky took a walk around the shining bowls, looking casually inside one or two of them. Next day, an extra bowl was put out for him, and I was pleased to see him forcing his way towards it.
Jostling, that means pushing through the dogs. Understood. Another bowl was put for him. Initially, remember he couldn't eat. He was vomiting. But now after slowly when his food was stopped, now we seen the dogs rushing towards the bowl. Now he is also interested in food. And another bowl was kept for him. But he knew that if he doesn't push through, whatever is there in his bowls will be finished. So he's pushing through. That's why jostling is there.
From then on, his progress was rapid. He had no medical treatment of any kind, but all day he ran about with the dogs, joining in their friendly scrimmages.
Scrimmages is like, they run after the ball, they run after the bring of the branch, all that. So like the tussle, that fight, scrimmage is that. Searching for leaves, searching, that's all.
He discovered the joys of being bowled over, tramped on, and squashed every few minutes.
So that boy is also very energetic. So he was bowled over means remember the dog jumps and Pricky is a small dog. So he would like literally be pushed. Then he would have been trampled on. The dog would stamp over him and go and squashed every few minutes because there were so many dogs there. So then he would be squashed between those dogs.
He
became an accepted member.
He became an accepted member of the gang, an unlikely, silky little object among the shaggy few, fighting like a tiger for his share at mealtimes and hunting rats in the old hen house at night. He had never had such a time in his life.
Okay. We will continue this in the next class. That is unfortunately after 2 times.